What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to continue working on the 1JZ. If you caught my last episode, I modified the cooling system. I've plugged up some outlets on the head and the block to eliminate unnecessary heat soaking of the cooling system and rising the temperature of the engine. Today, however, I'm going to tackle the oil system. I'm going to replace the oil pump. I'm going to remove the upper and lower oil pan, reseal everything, put new O-rings in. Front and rear main seal is going to get replaced as well, and we're also going to install Tomei baffle system in the oil pan to eliminate any oil slosh and potential oil starvation at the track. So here we got an OEM Toyota oil pump. It is, however, modified, high RPMs. You can get that at drift motion. And here we got Tomei baffles for the oil pan. These work for 1JZ and a 2JZ. I do have two separate videos. One is for the oil pump. I'll have a link in the description, and the other one is for a baffling system for a 2JZ. I'll have that link in the description as well. It's worth checking out. I explain in details why I got to modify an oil pump and what the modifications actually are. I took my time, I took it all apart, showed you guys every little thing that has been modified so you understand what you're purchasing and what you're paying for. Also, I had a video on oil baffling system for my oil pan, and I explained why I got it and the potential threats and issues you can suffer at the track if you don't have that on a front oil sump 2JZ or 1JZ. Alright, so we're going to start with the modified oil pump. It is, like I said, an OEM oil pump, so it looks not any more special than the one you get from Toyota. However, there is a little bit of details in here. Like I mentioned, I have a separate video for this, but I will quickly go over it. You can tell right here, it has a sticker. It's been branded by Drift Motion, modified high RPMs. You can tell these bolts have been replaced. These are no longer OEM Phillips head bolts, so you know this has been taken apart. If you look in here, I know it's going to be really hard to catch in the camera, but in here you can tell that it's been shaved off. The hard corners have been shaved off, so this actually gets a better flow. You can tell by just looking at these holes. And then one thing I didn't mention in my other video, this hole right here has been modified. This is a drain hole. Once the oil pump has excess oil pressure going through it, this drain hole has been made bigger so the oil escapes quicker. That way you have a steady oil pressure throughout the entire RPM of the engine. That's pretty much for the oil pump. Like I said, it looks OEM Toyota. There's not much to it. All the magic is done inside, which I have a separate video for. Link in the description. I highly recommend you guys checking it out and considering this purchase for your next build, because you cannot go wrong with a modified oil pump. The other thing we talked about is the oil baffling system. For this one, we ended up going with a Tomei one. There is a couple different brands out there. There's a Blue Moon brand, and there is Excessive Manufacture entire oil pan that comes with this baffling system. This, however, is not a bad choice. This is a drop-in kit that will bolt on to the block, and the oil pan will just sit right over it. So this is the actual baffling system. These are the little doors. Basically what these doors prevent is oil from sloshing from one side to the other, forward and backward. It's always going to hit this little door, and as much oil is going to stay right where the oil pickup tube is, and then whatever oil is on the side will always enter in this way. So this is one of the pieces right here. Got instructions in Japanese, 1JZ, 2JZ, sticker, a new seal for the oil pickup tube. And this is the other piece that gets replaced with the OEM piece. It is like a cradle. Nice little finish, Tomei powered, incorporated. So once we get the oil pan apart, we're going to go over the details how this gets installed properly in the engine. quick little update here. When you remove the oil pan, this is how you see the stock griddle or baffle. This is all there is in these engines to protect the oil from sloshing around and going to the back of the engine here. So this piece is going to be the one that's going to be getting replaced with this Tomei piece right here. This is going to, as you can see, it's a lot less area for the oil to escape as there is here. And then this piece is going to bolt into it, sitting right about here, keeping all the oil surrounding the oil pickup tube. Alright you guys, so after removing the lower oil pan and the upper oil pan, we found some things in the engine that got us a little worried. Now, when we pulled off the valve covers originally, we already noticed some engine oil gunk up in the head, and the oil looked very burned. Now that is a common thing for engines that maintenance services aren't performed on a regular basis. Maybe they've ran over the mileage on the oil service. The oil then starts breaking apart and it creates this like a debris buildup. And we saw that on the head. So when we pulled the oil pan off, we found even more of that. However, it got a little worse because there was actual gunk in the oil pan that was dried up, which could possibly be from the importing and the engine sitting around for a long time. But then there was just chunks in there. And when I ran a magnet through the lower oil pan, I picked up a bunch of tiny little magnetic shavings, which indicates a premature wear on the engine components. Also, after I looked into the actual oil pickup strainer, which is supposed to stop big debris from getting into the oil pump, I found a piece of aluminum shavings. That shaving really got us worried because we weren't sure where it came from, but obviously this engine suffered some minor damage, at least at some point. And this little piece of shaving was there and we found it. So I ended up taking the oil pump apart, where I noticed that the oil pump may have suffered some oil starvation. So after finding all that, I spoke to the owner, who's a buddy of mine, and that's his motor. We discussed the options and the possibilities of what could potentially be going wrong with the engine and what to expect in the near future. And he made a decision to go ahead and disassemble the engine, inspect everything, and more than likely we're just going to send it to a machine shop and do a complete refresh on the motor. That way we don't have to worry about anything in the future. Since this is going to be a race engine, we don't want to take any chances. We don't want to leave an engine that could potentially have clogged up oil passages and oil ports because of a poor maintenance by the previous owner of the engine. If this was like a swap for a daily car that you're just going to be driving around, heat cycling, doing the oil changes, it would probably be okay. But because this is going to be a race engine and it's going to see nothing but hard driving and drifting, and we are planning to put a bigger turbo on it and push about 500 horsepower, we just don't want to take the chance. We'd rather send the motor out to a machine shop, get everything machined, honed out, put new bearings in it, possibly upgrade the pistons and rods while we're at it, and make the motor completely bulletproof. So obviously this episode didn't go as planned. I'm not going to install the baffle and the oil pump at this time since we found the issues that we found in the oil pan. We are going to tear apart the motor on the next episode, further diagnose and investigate the condition of the motor, and then we're going to send it out to machine shop and go from there. Once we get the motor back from the machine shop, then we will start a full assembly with no doubts whatsoever about the condition of the engine. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Comment down below with what you would do if you were put in that situation, and give me your thoughts. Other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.